In a perfect case scenario, where you were close to your natural potential and you did a cycle, and when you come off, you do a PCT, then you might be able to keep... What's up, everyone? One of my friends just reached out to me to ask me a few questions regarding PEDs. And he came up with the idea himself for me to turn it into a video. So, he has a cousin that has been running PEDs for a few years already. Recently, he ran into his cousin and he noticed that he was far smaller. So here are the questions that he had. If you run a cycle, do you lose everything afterwards? If not, how much do you get to keep? Does protein actually help to keep more of it? And should someone after a cycle eat more protein than a natural or not? Is there a risk for like an addiction cycle to occur, where after a cycle you lose so much that you want to get back on it because now you have to deal with the mental image of having had it in the past and no longer having that size anymore? How fast do you lose your gains? So these are a few questions, and I like the idea to turn this into a video. So I told him there's many different factors at hand. First off, how far from your natural ceiling were you when you did your cycle? If you're not very far from your natural potential, then you will not be able to keep everything from your cycle afterwards, period. If you are very far away from your natural potential, then you might be able to keep everything. Again, I said there's many different factors. So let's name a few. Let's say you come off cold turkey. You don't do any after treatment, no PCT whatsoever. First of all, you're in for a very, very rough time. It could take about 3 to maybe 8 months, if you're very unlucky, for your testosterone to rebound back to normal. During that period of time, you basically have the hormone profile of a woman, which means you have very low testosterone and your estrogen might also be out of whack. So this means you have to deal with an emotional roller coaster. You will not be able to keep the size that you gained because you needed high testosterone to get it, and you might need slightly lower testosterone to keep it, but you still need a decent amount of testosterone in order to keep your size. But furthermore, you will probably not even feel like going to the gym or do all the other stuff that is required to keep it. Because when you have very low testosterone, you basically don't want to do anything. As a man, it's extremely important to have good testosterone. This is why TRT is so life-changing for so many men. So I told him, in a perfect case scenario, where you were close to your natural potential and you did a cycle, and when you come off, you do a PCT, and you keep going to the gym about 4 times a week, and you keep your protein very high, then you might be able to keep somewhere between 30 and 50% off your cycle. The exact mass is something for a whole different video because there's so many factors regarding that to talk about as well. But yes, you will not be able to maintain everything. However, there is research that shows that if you are close to your natural potential, or let's say that you are at your natural potential, almost no one is though, and you do a cycle, afterwards when you come off, you now have a higher threshold that you can maintain, even when you're natural. That will stick with you forever, but it's just not enough to keep everything. Then he asked me, 1.6 grams per kilo is what natural lifters should take, right? When you come off, I would try to keep it higher for sure. Because at first, even with a PCT, you're in for a rough 1 to 2 months for sure. If you're lucky, again, it can still take 3 to 4 months, even with a PCT. And if your testosterone is very low, your body basically wants to start shedding all this size. Your body's not used to having that. At the end of your bulk, instead of just tapping the goal weight that you want and then instantly cutting, that it's better to maintain it for 1 to 2 months so that your body gets used to it, muscle memory. And then afterwards, it's easier to maintain that size. There's a theory. As far as I know, there is no research on that, but I have tried it and I would say it has some validity. So this is my approach nowadays as well. I bulk to the target weight, then I try to maintain it for a month while I decrease the PEDs, and then I start cutting. Realistically speaking, no one actually does one cycle. Because everyone expects that you can gain much more from one cycle than you will actually get. And once you're on PEDs, you start to measure yourself to everyone else who is on PED, and people around you will also start to measure you against everyone who is on PEDs. So now you're the smallest guy on PEDs, and everyone is like, why don't you look like ABC, whatever. And indeed, there is an addiction cycle. Because imagine you get on cycle, you go to the gym, you get way stronger, you get way bigger, you feel really good, and then you lose about 70% of it afterward. And you feel bad because your testosterone is low, your estrogen is out of whack and whatnot. So there is definitely risk for an addiction cycle, for sure. This is also why I told him that since most people after the first cycle will do it again anyway, there is this thing called blasting and cruising that almost everyone does nowadays. The one cycle and coming completely off is something that they used to do in the past. But to be honest, the yo-yo effect of your hormones going like this is way worse for your health than just doing a blast, TRT at a high natural level, let's say 1,000, 1,200 nanograms per deciliter. And also it will be much easier to maintain what you got. Not everyone is looking to be on the Sazul for the rest of their life. So it's something that you really have to think about, obviously. Like, for example, you have to think about, are you very sensitive to addiction? And why are you doing this first cycle anyway? What's your purpose? So if you are okay with doing a cycle and then having slightly higher potential for the rest of your life, and you're willing to go through the motion of these hormone changes, by all means, go for it. After you do your research and all that other stuff, of course, I'm always preaching for safety first and health first. But if you know what you're signing up for, it's your body. I don't make the rules. If you want to gain much more than where you're at right now, it's very likely that you're going to need more than one cycle. So you should also go into it with that mindset to prevent all of the stuff that I just mentioned, including mental issues and whatnot. If you are very far from your natural potential and you just want to have a shortcut, I don't recommend this at all. I've never recommended this. I personally trained naturally for 13 years, went all the way from 46, yes, I was very skinny, bones showing every morning, ribs showing every morning, all the way from 46 to 94 kilo. And I'm not saying that I have the best genetics for bodybuilding or whatnot. I always make the joke to my friends and my girlfriend and whatnot. I don't have bodybuilding genetics. I have dating genetics, since I'm tall, blonde, blue eyes, whatever. Just a joke. But yes, I put in the work for 13 years before I did any PEDs. Just when I basically realized, like, okay, I'm going to need a little more in order to get where I want to be. And I did 7 years of research. And I want to be on TRT for the rest of my life anyway, because of all the benefits, the healthier state, being able to do, like, carry your own groceries until a late age, run after your grandkids, whatnot. There's a lot of benefits to TRT. And I wanted to sign up to that idea anyway. So I decided, cool, I'll do a few cycles before and then try to maintain as much as possible until later age. In summary, there's many factors. How far away from your natural potential are you? What are your goals? Are you disciplined enough in order to maintain after a cycle what you got? Is your diet in order? Your workouts? Did you do your research? So do you know what you're doing? There's many factors. But yes, sorry, you're not going to keep all of the gains of that one cycle that's going to get you to your dream body. It's just not a thing. The last question that he had, how fast do you lose your gains? Again, it really depends on all the things. Like, if you're willing to work very hard, then you might be able to maintain most of it. Like 30 to 50% is quite a lot. If you don't go to the gym with the same intensity and the same frequency or whatnot, you could lose it very quickly. Like a few months after, you could already look very, like, drastically different. You never did a cycle in the first place. I hope this helps. This was just a quick video for those of you that might want to do a first cycle. And now at least you know what you're signing up for. Subscribe. Click the bell icon, and I'll see you soon.